I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Flatlander Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman Roundtable. Last time we talked all about the Grand. This time we're going to do Q&A questions that come from our Facebook group, the Flatlander Kennels podcast Facebook group. So Chris, go ahead and remind everyone who's here, and then we're going to get right into these questions.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We got a good roundtable going. We got some of the best people in the whole wide world of my friends here. So I got Chris Akin, Web-Footed Kennels, Eric Teson, Habitat Flats Kennels, and Riddle of Bay Creek Kennels in South Carolina, and appreciate you guys being on. We are going to do a question and answer, and we're going to try to keep it, with this group, we can get pretty long-winded, but we're going to try to keep it with under an hour, 45 minutes, and get some good stuff going, and I appreciate you guys being here.
Glad to be here.
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm not sure how we're going to handle this. I don't think I will just handle however, as far as how many people weigh. If you have really strong opinions about the question, weigh in on all of them. Or if you don't, then, we'll just see who all wants to talk on each particular question.
We'll start with Eric, you can answer the first question.
Here we go, man.
I think we need to have
let's try it like this.
I think we need to have a pay-per-view wrestling match between Eric and Chris.
I think that'd be awesome.
I think Eric would feel pretty happy about that.
I think Eric would feel real happy about that.
We can bring in a couple of midgets.
I hate to have Tony have to find a new trainer in Habitat Flats.
Hey, listen. Let's try to handle it like this. Why don't we take one of the old school guys and one of the new school guys to answer the questions? You take an old school and a new school, old school and new school. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea.
Kind of give you two different takes on it. Yeah.
So we'll do every other one. We'll do Akin and Eric and Jobman and Riddle. How about that?
Oh,
sorry, Chris.
Sound good?
Jobman.
Why do I get rat?
Well, we
get the special one.
You're gonna abuse either one of them, so it's all right.
Right. Me and you, Rat, against Chris and Eric. We got it.
All right. So we're gonna start. This is the Chris Jobman podcast. We're gonna start off with Chris and Rhett on this first one, and then we'll move over to Akin and
if
Eric
anybody that has a strong opinion on the other team, jump in.
And as the amateur, if I'm confused, I will mention that I'm confused, and you'll have to break it down a little bit more simply. How about that?
Okay.
So I'll be confused about every single question. All right, here we go. Dan Flynn asks, any drills to up your dog's confidence in water? This is a great question because you guys actually talked a lot about water on the last one. 4-year-old seasoned dog with 3 finished passes. Some days he jumps right in the water. Other days it's like he is unsure if he should get in. Forced to water and de-cheat have been completed. Seems to be more hesitant on blinds, but as a recent test, he ran to the water's edge, turned around, came back on the mark.
Go ahead, Rhett.
Oh, man.
Well, you're the Boykin guy, so you have a lot of experience with this.
Oh, man. Yeah, I hear you. This is this is a whole episode. I mean, this is a good one here. I personally, first thing I'm going to do with a dog is, because that's still a no-go. I am going to go back and do some water force or something with them if it's becoming a problem. That's always the first place I'm going to look at. Just go back and revisit, just a little back in the water, and make them remember that you have to get in and go. A long-term thing, I like to do school blinds. I know you're not a big pattern blind with an older dog kind of guy, but I do like to go back and do what I call like known blinds or school blinds in and around the water to build confidence, running from different spots, different angles. Make them a little bit more difficult.
He says his background is he's water forced and done all that. I would.
Yeah, but I'm going to go.
I would be wondering if that dog does it in training or not, or he just do it at a test. Because at a test now he's wise to it. At a test he knows he can get away with it. In training, I wonder if he does it in training. which is hard to explain. But I'm with you, Red. I think you need, I think water force for sure. And then I think, pattern blind I think would help too, for sure. I don't know what kind of dog it is, but obviously it's lost confidence in the water. Maybe even throw a clipped wing pigeon in the water, something like that. Get him excited about getting in the water. Try to use least amount of force as possible at the very beginning, and force should be your last step. I think you need to make it fun. It's like throw a clipped wing pigeon in the water, something like that. And maybe revisit water force, that sort of thing.
Well,
and
he
if
said he had a couple finish passes on the dog, so the dog.
I wonder if it's a dead bird back sort of thing, or I wonder if he sends that dog instead of saying dead bird back, maybe not me. He's putting water in the term back is a bad thing. I wonder if he sent that dog at a test like on his name, and he would get in the water that way instead of back.
Yeah.
So,
I think the original question was on a mark. You know what I mean?
On a mark?
Yeah.
Was it on a mark?
Was it on a mark?
I think it's in general because the dog on a
said
blind
on
is when the dog went up the water's edge, turned around, and came back to him.
Yeah.
So I think it's both, just that whole entering the water in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely make the water more fun and then use pressure at the very end of it. But I think he needs to revisit some pressure stuff for sure. And then he might be association that back with the water is a bad thing. You might be able to use his name and get him going, just kind of trick him.
When would you exactly use the pressure?
Oh, it's before he gets in the water. So
Would you give a verbal? Would you give a verbal as you're giving the pressure there?
Well, you say dead. You say back, and then you give pressure, and then you say back again, and then they jump in the water. Yeah, don't give them pressure as they're hitting the water, because that seems to be the problem. Give them you force them into the water, not in the water. So force them into the water.
Timing's important.
Very important. And there could have been some problems with timing that caused it. The dog remembers that. So
not my question, but I'm going to stick one little thing in there. I'd scoot up. I'd start closing the distance to the water. I think you guys are missing saying that. Scoot up, simplify it. The farther back you go, the more problems you create.
Well, the farther back, and that's a great point. The farther back you go, then you give the dog a choice.
Yep.
You scoot up, you got no choice. Get in the damn water. So, and then build from there.
All right. Anything else? We ready to move on?
Maybe shoot a flyer over the water. I might get them going too. Something fun like that.
All right. Next one. Kevin Christner says, with all the crazy winds we've been having, what concepts do you set up to train the dogs to fight the wind? And what is the difference in corrections on a younger dog versus a veteran dog to hold the line to the mark? And the same question on a blind. Eric.
Akin, you want to go or you want me to go?
What was the question?
I love you.
All right. With all the crazy winds we've been having.
That is our group in a nutshell. That is 100% our group in a nutshell. That's it. I'm out.
All right, here's the question. With all the crazy winds we've been having, what concepts do you set up to train the dogs to fight the wind? And what is the difference in corrections on a younger dog versus a veteran dog to hold the line to the mark? And the same question on holding the line on a blind.
Well, so if you're doing either one of them, just no matter what we're doing, whether you're talking about that water that we just talked about, the wind that we're talking about now, you're good at what you practice. And obviously you got to start off easy and make it harder each day. You got to give the dog every bit of benefit of the doubt. Kind of customize it to his expert level. Okay. So if we're starting off, everything's going to be fairly short, 50, 75 yards. If he's, at the top of the game, 175, 250, whatever, make sure that, there's not a lot of other factors in it when you start off. It could be just a flat level field. If you got a dog further into the game, the wind could also be in addition to the side hill or cover, moving him downwind, water, moving him, trying to get the dog where he skirts the water. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do this. So start off with a featureless field. You throw the mark. This dog's got to be trained on all his obedience, car condition, force fetch, steady. This dog's got to be. You can't just do this with just any puppy. Go out there and do this. And then, so what I do, we throw the mark. Let's say the wind's blowing right to left. We throw the bird into the wind. The dog goes out, gets behind the gun. We blow the whistle. If the dog's trained to that level, stop him. We'd apply a little bit of pressure. We'd bring the dog back to where he faded behind the gun. We would stop him and cast. And then we would cast the dog into the wind. So now we're not only getting practice on the dog running a mark against the wind and holding his line. Now we're teaching him to cast into the wind. Once you succeed at that, you could either A, repeat that same mark again to prove to yourself that the dog understands not to go back to that hot spot and to fight the factors and make it to the bird. And or you can just scoot over another 50, 60, 75 yards and do the same thing, in the same field if it permits. But the deal is that the dog's got to learn how to take that pressure and apply that to the mark at hand or to the blind at hand. And we're not talking about tons of pressure. We're not talking about, really turning the collar up, just some lightweight stuff, just whatever it takes for that particular dog to understand that is not the area that you needed or wanted him in, and to take the correct line.
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Doing stuff into the wind or with the wind. I believe he was asking about drills and stuff. I'd set up 2 or 3 to 5 either marks or blinds, and like Chris said, I loved when he said you start off simple and get hard. You don't want to go straight, with a straight hard crosswind. You want to kind of start with an easy wind at your back, and then your second marker, your second blind has a little bit more wind inflection in it, and then your third one has a little bit more. So you're moving your marks into the wind. So as you progress through the drill, whether it's marking drill or blind work, that the dog is encountering more direct wind into the side each time. And like everybody says, length, distance deteriorates everything that we do in training. So going back to Chris's thought process is make that first one with the wind at your back and it's short. The second one, wind kind of hitting them at a right in the left buttocks and a little bit farther, and then by the time they get to the end of the drill, the wind is hitting them square in the side, and it's at their max level, whether it's a little started dog or it's a finished level, master level dog. Let them encounter more wind and more distance as the drill goes on, and I think you'll be better. If you want to talk about drills for puppy work into the wind, something that I like to do is get the wind blowing from my mark into my gunner station or into my hide. And you get that little puppy that runs out there and it's running. And if it catches the under the arc, it will win the blind itself. With that little puppy, you're looking for a lot of success. So that puppy runs out there, hits the wind. It learns to bend away from the gun and into the wind. And what you're also teaching that dog is to, if it gets next to the gun, to hunt out to curl out and pick up marks. That will be a skill that it will forever use in its life. So that's kind of how I train into the wind stuff.
Yeah. And if I could chime in on one little thing is, I think when you're training like in the wind stuff, I think a gunner, somebody throwing for you is paramount, not just a winger. If they're throwing for you and Kevin, if you see that dog looking like it's going to backside a gun, and if you don't want to break your dog's momentum, and maybe it's a little bit softer dog that struggles with the momentum and confidence, have that gunner step out and fake a throw as it's running, and it'll push that dog out, and he'll learn to stay away from that gun.
Yeah, you encounter more wind than all of us do, for sure.
Yeah, and that Kevin lives up here. That's why I know we encounter more wind than anybody, for sure. And that's how we do it a lot of times.
But I think that's a good thing though, because like I said, you're good at what you practice.
Yeah.
So he's got wind all the time to practice that in. We're down here, we may not have enough wind to really practice that skill.
Yeah.
So he ought to be good at it. Chris's dogs are good at it for obvious reasons because that he doesn't have any choice.
We have a choice. That's exactly right.
Let's throw an asterisk in there. I'm going to take it back to Finn because Finn was there when I was with Chris. Finn was so dependent on the wind. He would literally gauge the wind on every single market. He would run 60 to 80 yards offline on every single mark. It was really, really hard to run a really good line with that dog because he depended on the wind so much. He would literally take off the wrong way or not online on purpose to catch the wind because he was so dependent on the wind. Remember that?
And that dog there, if we stopped him and put him on line and corrected that, he just crumbled. Yep. He would literally just we call it the boomerang dog. If you waited long enough, he'd come running right back to you. Like it was the damnest thing you ever seen. But if you corrected that dog, he couldn't even mark. He had to let Finn do Finn things.
Yeah.
You know, not Chris Akin's Finn. This was a different dog named Finn, FBNN. So, all right.
All right, so let me tag on to this question because I have a personal question with my own dog that kind of is very similar to this. One thing that Georgie does, if there's a mark or a blind that's straight out, let's say 200 yards, if she hits a slope that's slanted, she always goes the direction of that slant. She just naturally just hooks that way, and she'll end up 50, 60 yards to the right of the mark because she's always sloping that slanted incline when she hits it. She does it on blinds, she does it on marks. She just wants to go down that hill to the right or the left. What's the best way to address that?
Line correction.
Go ahead, Chris.
Just immediately stop her every time. Just be ready for it and stop.
The way I train it is it depends on how far offline they are. But the same thing as we talked about a minute ago with the wind. If she falls off that hill, let her fall off that hill. Let her get obviously in the wrong area. Tweet. No. Bump, bump, bump. Call back to the front of the hill. Tweet. Stop. Cast into the hill. And then let her go up there and get it. And then A, you can try, if you want to, repeat it, or B, just leave it alone, try for another day. But I'm going to tell you, this deal with this pressure, when they get in the wrong place and you apply pressure, they start paying attention going from A to Z. And especially like if you're talking about a go bird, I mean, good Lord, man, a go bird, you're looking straight at where that bird hit the ground. You can fix your brain on that spot and go to it. And if they still fall off, whether it's wind, terrain, water, whatever, let them get in a bad spot, cheating it, stop them, apply pressure, and you know what kind of pressure to put on that dog to make that spot hot. Call the dog back and cast. I even like bringing the dog all the way back to the line after putting that pressure, and then having the guy, hey, just step out, do a fake throw, and then just resend them. And now I feel like I'm working on a memory bird and I'm working on the line all at the same time.
Yeah. And
I
would throw something in there too.
As you do some of this, you're going to find that dog's going to learn how to do this. Okay, I mean, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but you literally do it for 5 or 6 days on doing this, where you're putting some light pressure on this dog for getting in bad spots, whether it's cheating the water, cheating the land, cover, cheating the wind, whatever. You'll be amazed how fast they'll come to the table. It's an amazing deal. The collar is just such a powerful tool in that. I mean, there's no coincidence the dogs are so much dang better from 20 years ago. It's because of that collar and because of those minor corrections that we can make, and that we can adjust the level of correction right there at our fingertips with the dog.
Yeah, and I would chime in there too. And Chris said it. I think your corrections need to be small and light for your line corrections. If you give a big hard correction and you try to repeat that, that dog's going to shoot off. Say you run at 12 o'clock and the dog was fading to 2 o'clock, and you give a hard correction. Hell, they're not going to go to 12 o'clock. They're going to probably go to 10 o'clock. They're going to overcorrect.
Yeah.
So if you correct too hard, they shoot off all over the damn place.
That's why you also have the guy come out and
100%.
Rethrow or whatever, because if not, they're going to go somewhere completely.
They're going to shoot off all kinds of directions, and then you're losing
I must be using too hard of corrections, because when she when I give her on a blind and I give her an angle and she goes straight back, I hit her hard, and the next thing I give her an angle left and she's going to 6 o'clock. I mean, she way overcorrects most of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm probably hitting her too hard then.
Just not,
Maybe.
not understanding the correction.
Yeah, she doesn't understand why she's just going to a different area. She doesn't understand why she doesn't understand she's being faded, or she doesn't understand that she got corrected for a scallop. She's just going to someplace different. So yeah, your corrections may be a little bit stiff.
Okay.
Akin,
right.
I know
Thank
me and
you.
you talk about this from time to time. I will tell you how I do it, and then I want to know your opinion on that. I have a dog. Let's say that exact same scenario. It's thrown right to left. That slope is down there, and it keeps on fading down to the right side. My dog gets the wrong side of the gun, small correction. I either pull it all the way back or halfway back and give it a no hands back, and hopefully it makes its own decision to correct it. If that dog doesn't correct itself, I let it go back down to the bad area again. I give it a more stern correction. I call back and I repeat and I resend. I don't rethrow. I just resend. I think me and you differ from this because I give that dog correction, retry, correction, and a handle or help. You go, if I'm not mistaken, when we've talked in the past, you go correction into a rethrow, correct?
Yeah, well, that or you, I bring them back to where they took off the wrong direction, stop them, and then cast them and show them and educate them on the correct line, and then come back and repeat it. Now, the repeating part's where people get a little twisted up. Not every dog can repeat and not start repeating marks over and over when doing multiples. But if you have a dog that can do that, then that's what I do. If not, just wait till the next day and set up something similar to that and repeat it again. But man, what's wrong with a dog doing something right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
They should be able to win.
I have. And here's the thing. Even if you want to add something to this, do what I call a mark and a half. So you taught the dog how to do that mark. You stopped him and you cast him into it as a freaking go bird, let's say, okay? Now, it's a go bird. All right, you just taught him a line. All right, now, bring him back, have that guy rethrow it, and then you hand throw one off the line out of the picture, over here at 9 o'clock, have him pick up that 9 o'clock bird, and then come back in here and now send him as a memory bird. I mean, I just think he just taught a ton of stuff.
Absolutely.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do to add to that is I always have 2 or 3 blinds set out.
Yeah.
And what I love to do, if I'm running a set and a dog misses the mark, no matter what his malfunction is, at the end, I will have that guy rethrow that bird, know off of it, run the blind he ran the weakest, and then come back and get that mark. That's my favorite thing in the world to do, and there's a lot of people that roll over and cuss me for saying that's not that we can't do that. Well, bull crap, you can too. And the dog gets a huge confidence booster, and you're doing it as a memory bird, which is way harder than a go bird. And they're just anytime a dog's getting confident and you're taking a lot of pressure off of him and not having a stand on him, I think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.
All right, we ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right, Cody Berry asks, do you teach a dog hunted up whistle when they are in the ballpark but haven't smelled the bird yet?
Absolutely not.
No.
That's a red question.
No.
Go ahead, Rhett.
Yeah, move on. Next question.
Oh my!
Absolutely not. If you're running a blind retrieve, you handle to the bird. There is no such thing as a tweet hunted up. Now, if you're a hunting dog guy, I can see where that would work. But the games that we play, if you're a test guy or trial guy, that's not going to work.
Let me add to that for that guy, because look, there's nobody hunts more than this group right here. We get it. We see it. We know where that would come into handy, but for the dogs that we're running and that we're hunting, those same dogs that we're hunting also run tests. There's nowhere in a test for that, so we can't do that. But I do understand what you're trying to do. I do understand that where that would come in handy and a need for that, but we just don't train that way. So not to belittle you or make fun of you, it's just not what we do with our dogs.
Yeah, there is a
and
philosophy out there. I can't remember whose training philosophy it is, but they do have that whistle incorporated. But yeah, I don't think any of us do that by no
And
means.
the problem with doing that too is you start doing that stuff, and your dog loses so much control at the end of the blind that you can't finish the damn blind because he's going into hunt mode.
Yeah.
All right, good one, Rhett.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hit the next one. Robert Garber, and I think this is Akin and Teson's question.
Akin and Eric.
Puppy training tips, program ideas, advice. New BLF pup will be coming home in 2 weeks. Goal in mind is to hunt her and title her to the highest level we can take her. Best way to let her be a pup while still playing a solid foundation to build on. I bet you guys could talk for an hour on that.
Yeah, at least.
Guarantee it.
Eric's the puppy builder. Let's hear it, Eric.
I would love to go. Expose.
Eric just broke. He just broke.
Yeah, I do. I love this stuff. Exposure. You know what I mean? The biggest word that you can use with any young dog is exposure. Put that dog in as many situations when it's little as you can. People don't socialize dogs. We people give dogs exposure. So you want to give that dog as many situations to have good, positive interactions, whether it's with a duck or whether it's with a blind or whether it's with the bang of the gun. We love doing puppy work. I love doing puppy work. It's all positive rewarded. I'm waiting on the dog to show me the whatever I'm asking of it, and I reward that dog, whether it's with a treat or with a positive reward verbally, or it gets a reward of a bumper or a throw or anything like that. But drill wise, we do a ton of place stuff, a bunch of directional casting when they're little. If you can give them all that exposure when they're little, it just flows when they get 6-8 months old. So yes, just be very positive, ignore incorrect or bad behaviors, and reward positive behaviors with young dogs. It makes them such great learners, and that's what you want throughout that dog's entire life. You want a great learner.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Sure.
I love puppy stuff. When you called me earlier, Jobman, and said if I was going to make it tonight, I was actually out there with a 12-week-old golden retriever doing like 200-yard marks with this puppy tonight.
That's awesome.
And it is. Her name is Cedar, little golden retriever puppy. Really nice, little cool little puppy. But my daughter and I are out there playing with her tonight. The deal is that I do what Eric's talking about is absolutely spot on. But I tell everybody, carry that puppy everywhere but the electric chair. Okay? So you don't have to have rubber boots and your favorite Habitat Flats hat on to say you're training your dog. Okay? You can actually, soccer field, baseball, t-ball, church, summer camp, duck club, office, cab of the truck. My favorites are farmers' dogs because they're hearing impact guns, they're hearing combines, they're hearing tractors, they're hearing beating on steel. I mean, these dogs are exposed to every sight, smell, and sound. They know everything. Like I said, they go everywhere but electric chairs. So that is the well-rounded puppy growing up, okay? Yeah. But the other deal is that so many people today, for whatever reason, want to do all this formal crap. Heel, sit, stay, kill, here, no, down, roll over, play dead. I'm over all that, okay? Now, I'm not saying this stuff that Eric does is all this positive stuff is spot on. I think that the average person doesn't have the time or mentality for it. So I think it's easier for them to teach a heel or a sit or a stay. I'm not saying you can't teach puppies that stuff at all. I'm not in the least. And it's an art to it, and you can do it. But if you, the main thing, I'm a duck dog guy. I'm a duck hunter. The main thing is that we get that dog to retrieve every duck. If you kill 36, 48 ducks a day, you want that dog to want to go get the 48th one just as much as he did the first one. You got to want him to want to get that bird just as bad as you want to shoot that bird. And the deal is, if you teach he'll sit, stay, kill, here, no, when he's 7 weeks old, more than likely, he ain't going to give 2 flips that you just watered up a greenhead and a decoys at 25 yards. You've got too much control.
Yep.
Let a puppy be a puppy. I didn't go to work when I was in diapers. I didn't go to work when I was in tough skins. I'm just telling you, let that puppy grow up. Coach him in retrieving, land water, bows, bumpers. Tell him not only your pond in your backyard, not only the pond behind the church, you can as many different fields, places. You want him in knee-high cover. You want him in mow grass. You want him exposed to good people. People that don't like dogs don't need to be around puppies. All right, just avoid them. You want that dog to have a positive experience every time he's around somebody. You want him to think that everybody loves him and adores him while he's growing up. There's a time and a place to teach heel, sit, stay, kill, hear, no, and all that formal crap. It's not when they're babies unless you do it in this method like Eric and them are doing. So be very, very clear in your intention. I have to have a dog that loves to retrieve no matter what. If you just want to make a pet and companion out of a dog, crank on him on heel, sit, stay when he's 6, 7, 8 weeks old, and you'll have you a perfect pet because he'll be useless for anything else on 9 out of 10 puppies. Okay? I know the guy that says, hey, I did all that. My dog's great. Hey, I hear you, boss. But the major wad of dogs, for the masses, they can't handle all that. They don't need to handle all that. You didn't handle all of it when you were a baby. Why should they? So chill out. Get them retrieving. Get them exposed. Rangers, 4-wheelers. I don't want to hear about 12 gauge and 7 mags going off over their head when they're babies either. Protect those dogs from cold water. Protect those dogs from guns. You know, if a puppy's riding around with Red and he sees a coyote out the window or a little basket 6, he's going to shoot out the window of his truck. Don't do that with a puppy in there. You know, be patient with them. Protect them from it, okay? Make sure they can't do that. You know, Eric's over here nodding. He knows I'm preaching all the right stuff. Just be patient with these puppies. Let them have fun. Let them grow up. This puppy I was working tonight, 12 weeks old, has never heard the word heel, has never heard the word sit, has never heard the word stay, and we're chunking them suckers at 200 yards tonight. And the little dog coming flying out across the field and nail that sucker. That dog's mama did the same thing and was a grand champion AKC Hall of Fame as a 3-year-old. It's not coincidence. We're just building that marking. We're building that retrieving desire. We can always go in there and do heel, sit, stay, kill on that dog later in life. There's plenty of time for that. And like with this crew right here, they can all train that. And in 2 months' time, they can have that dog heel, sit, stay, kill here, fetch, leave, force to foul, all that crap. It doesn't take a lot of time to do that. So be patient with that puppy, but expose it to every single thing you can.
Amen.
Yeah, and the worst thing about you want to see is when a new dog gets to our kennel, and we all can attest to this. When we open that kennel door, we want that dog coming in bold and confident, smelling stuff. And the worst thing you can do is not expose your dog to that stuff. And they open that door, you got to drag them in there when they first show up. That is a big red flag right off the bat. It's scared to death. And I'd much rather see a confident dog that you got to chase down and catch than something like that.
Yeah.
Like
All right, let's move on to the next one. Jeffrey Easley says, I want my dog to get to the area of the fall and establish a tighter hunt without running all over the field before coming up with the bird. I run this marking drill by Danny Farmer. It's essentially a drill with black bumpers and a gunner throwing randomly on the same side of the gun. I modified it slightly to put my dog on a place board and go out and throw myself. My question is, do you know of any similar drills that accomplish this same goal? This is Jobman and Rhett.
I'll start, Rhett.
Yeah, you start with
that's
this one.
really, really hard to teach by yourself.
Yeah.
Teach a dog to hunt tight is really hard to teach by yourself. You're better off with a gunner and keep the dog in the area, or salt the area so he doesn't come up with a big, huge gorilla hunt. And he finds a bird in a couple loops and salt the area with a couple, 2 or 3 birds. That's probably what I would do. But trying to do that by yourself is extremely difficult to do. And shorten it up, simplify it. If I know what drill he's doing. I can't remember what it's called, but that drill shouldn't be any more than 50, 60, 75 yards.
Precision marking drill.
That's what it is.
Yep.
And that shouldn't be any more than 75 yards. So there shouldn't be huge hunts on something like that. And if you're having these big hunts in your training, you're either throwing them too far or are you throwing birds? Or are you throwing bumpers? Where do you throw them? Are they smelling for birds? Are they smelling for? It's hard to smell bumpers in the tall grass. That's gonna make them hunt even more. So if you're throwing bumpers, I would salt the area, multiple bumpers. Like Chris and I used to do back in the day when we had bumper boys. Remember that we salted the area with all them birds? We did all that stuff. We had some damn good marking dogs back in the day. Brett, what do you think?
I'm more one to simplify something. I don't usually go to a drill with bumpers on something like that. I'm more gonna use birds, like you said, either salting an area, making it easier for it to find it, or shorter grass, something to get them where they're zoning in, going to the area and not having as big a hunts, or using a bird boy. Obviously, I train with bird boys every day, and there is no better tool for being able to keep a dog in tight and making them comfortable.
100%.
When done right, when you got good guidance and a good listener out there throwing for you, that's super important. So,
what about marks? I call them hard to get to, easy to find.
Yeah.
So as you go out across a field, you will find areas that the cover's not as thick and prevalent as in other areas. We've even taken a damn weed eater and knocked out some spots. But another thing we do a lot, I do a lot of strip mowing. We'll mow our place with a bush hog, and then we mow a lot of areas with a lawnmower. And these lawnmower trails are everywhere. So you may have to run 200 yards across heavy cover, but the birds throw right in the middle of a zero turn mowed yard, right? But it's only 61 inches wide, right? But let's face it, the dog had to go across 200 yards before it got to the last, 60 inches and saw the bird laying there. So you take a dog, and remember now, these dogs this marking, dogs are good at what they practice. If you throw a lot of marks, that dog will learn to do that. And especially if you've got a bird boy like these guys are talking about, to be out there to keep those dogs in the area and to keep those dogs hunting in there until they find the bird. But I think if you'll do a little bit of work on your part, hard to get to, easy to find, and also maybe what you're throwing. Not everybody understands that, dogs can't smell these rubber bumpers. They can't smell these rubber birds nearly as well in high cover. Even birds that we use or keep in freezers, or even, at certain times of year, birds they don't smell like they do other times of year. They're harder to smell. And so, you may need to give the dog a little bit of credit for what you're throwing and how you're throwing it and the kind of cover you're throwing in. But all dogs need a little bit of leeway on that to let them get in there. Bird boy, hey, help them keep staying right in there, and they get better and better and better at it. Another thing you could do is have a guy throw, and you move around the field, and you go from 75 to 300 yards or 200 yards, whatever, and have the guy throw in the same spot, and watch that dog come run down there and pin that sucker every time. Although you've moved around on the four-wheeler or the Ranger with a dog or whatever all over the field, and that dog's going to drill at it. He gets used to running there and staying 10 yards left of that holding blind. You may be surprised what you end up with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All good stuff there.
I gotta stick in there, guys. To teach a dog to hunt tight, I think so many people do this without thinking about it. Use environmental barriers. If you're throwing in the back corner of a field, that dog is probably not going to run into the woods to hunt. So it's going to, on its own, it's going to hunt tighter in that area. If you have a little pinch or a little bowl you can throw in, using the train and environmental barriers to keep that dog tighter in the area so it comes up with those things instead of ranging out, or that little bowl funnels them back down to where the bird is because gravity brings them back down in there. Use environmental barriers to shorten that or to shrink that hunt area to get dogs to hunt tighter.
That's a really good point too. That's a great idea.
Jobman uses that all the time to just get up against the woods.
Yeah.
Tree.
I like to put my dog against a wood line a lot out here.
He's got plenty of dead falling over trees. He can use those.
Yeah, I got
both of them.
got there's one other thing that I do a good bit. We'll throw a white Clorox jug for the mark. We'll put a duck on the ground, so when they actually get to it, they're finding or smelling the duck and bringing the duck back. But we'll put rocks into the Clorox jug, so the dog sees this huge jug go through the sky. They watch it real good, then it hits the ground. You hear the rocks clang. They perk up and they really focus in on the mark and they focus in on the area.
So it really saves money on your birds too.
To zone in really tight on it, and then they're also using their eyes to go in and find it, as opposed to just using their nose too. So
that's a good idea too. Boat buoys. Some people like throw boat buoys and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah.
All right, the next one. Yeah, David Plyler asks, tips for dealing with a dog wanting to autocast or refuse a whistle when they get in the scent cone. Best ways to get a dog to ignore what they are smelling and trust your casts and commands.
Who is it, Eric, Chris?
Yeah.
Chris.
Yep.
Eric.
There was a 2-part deal. The dog ignoring the whistle when it smells the bird. I mean, that's a control and that's a respect thing. What was the other one? Autocast.
Yeah, autocasting.
Same thing.
I had the best autocasting dog of all of us years ago, and it is a very difficult thing to fix. But I tell you, in all honesty, it's from two things. It's from a handler that handles too fast and always does, or B, that's a pressure related thing, and that dog, it doesn't like the pressure and is just trying to hurry up and get out of this deal. Okay. And so all of us need to slow down when we're casting. Tweet, 1, 2, 3, 4, cast on 5. I'm not telling you I'm any good at it. I'm not telling you anybody on this board's any good at it. I'm just telling you what we should do. It makes way better cast. It makes the dog relax. It makes the dog focus on you and get the right cast, not a guess. All of us do something that when you get in a bind or you need to hurry up and get back online, we cast a lot faster. We whistle a lot faster. We show fear, and the dog it just doesn't work. So slow down with the dog. I even do this with these dogs autocast. Dog stops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I may move my arms, kind of do a little jig, do a little dance, and that dog moves. Stop it again. Count to 5. Move a little bit, and then I get before the dog. As I realize the dog's staying, give him another 5 count and give a cast. So you may actually be stopping for 15 or 20 seconds. And try not to do this at 400 yards. Do all this at 50 to 100 yards. And that way the dog sees you real well and you know there's no problem and whatever. Stopping the dog blowing you off on a cast or the dog blowing you off because it's winding the bird, man, that's the beautiful thing about an e-collar. And that dog just has to have the respect that he has to stop no matter when you blow that whistle. And some dogs are better at that than others. We've all got dogs that we can stop literally over 30 bumpers or ducks or whatever. But the other dogs, once they get in there and smell, they're going to try to dive in there on it fast they can and get it in their mouth. Even when they do make it to the pile or even when they do make it to the bird and refuse that whistle, we'll go ahead and stop them although they made it to the bird. And we make them sit down there and give them a 5 or 10 count and then call them on back in. And the next time they'll think about it a whole lot harder when you do blow you off on that deal. But you're good at what you practice, and you just got to practice that in training and make that dog do that where you can actually stop them right at feet from that bird or feet from that pile of bumpers.
Yep.
Yeah.
To take it a step further, are you going to put pressure indirect there on sit after you get them to stop?
What'd you say?
Are you gonna apply pressure there on sit After I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna apply pressure
That's it.
Yeah.
once you get them
Yeah.
stopped.
Because then let's face it, because here's the deal. They're still in the same scent cone. They're still in the same area close to the bumper. They're still, everything's the same, but now they got a bumper in their mouth, so we've lost a little bit of pizzazz. But I'm just telling you, if you do that, once they blow you off on that last 5 foot, you blow the whistle and they dive in there on the bird or dive in there on the bumpers. It doesn't matter if you got to blow that dang whistle 10 times, they're halfway back and you still haven't stopped. You get their butt stopped and then watch what happens the next time you do it. They're going to stop.
Yeah.
I think, and I know these guys are good at that. I've seen them do it too many times, but it's all about a respect thing, and it's all about your standard. That's the thing we really hadn't talked about tonight. Is all this stuff is just your standard, and you got to keep your standard. And it don't matter you're talking about, hey, what do you do for grand prep? It's all about our standards, and it's all about what we expect that dog to do. No matter if we're walking to the line, or shooting the marks, or running the blind. It's all about the standards. So you got to have standards to begin with, and you got to know what you're expecting. But you also got to also know what level dog that you're dealing with, whether it's a started dog, a season level dog, or a physical dog. And you improve your standard as you go through this deal, just like children. I mean, we didn't expect them, to be potty trained when they were 6 months old. When they were 3 years old, we did. We didn't expect them to be able to tie their shoes and do all that at 3 years old. We do in their 5. So everything, we're making it a little bit harder on that dog all the way through and holding a good standard for that dog.
If you don't ask for more, you'll never get it.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rhett's still working on his potty training. So.
Yes.
Akin put a lot of information there, but I'm going to recap on something that he told me a long time ago. God gave the Labrador Retriever or a retriever the ability to mark. We as men, as trainers, we give that dog the ability to run blinds. If your dog sucks at running blinds, it's your fault. That literally etched itself into my brain a long time ago, and there's no truer words. If that dog can't do it, it's because you haven't taught that dog to do it.
Yeah. That's a 100% trained taught response.
Yep.
All right. Let's do one more. How's that sound?
Rhett, are you taking notes?
Yeah, great point, Eric. Thank you. Next question, please.
All right. Let's hit one more. This is a good one. This is from Dan Jurgens. How do you deal with hold on, did I read that name? No, that's different. It's avoidance. How do you deal with avoidance from a pup who's 7 to 8 months old, who has gone through collar conditioning and force fetch, starting 3-handed casting? He has good drive and enthusiasm with marks and is willing to go when sent on rider lift backs, but does not like to make and maintain eye contact. I feel it's a maturity issue, but I don't want to ignore it.
Go ahead, Rhett.
Oh, I mean,
just the last question we'll answer. We'll all put something there. We all got something, I guarantee, on this thing.
I'm gonna say take the pressure off, give some heys, maybe hold a bumper, whatever you can do just to get them to focus on you. It's a lack of focus that's been created from pressure in some way, shape, or form. So ease it up. Let them have fun a little bit. Get something for them to look at and focus on you, and then get the cast when they're looking at you, and make them look at you for a couple seconds beforehand. Guys, what y'all got?
I got the same thing. I do the same thing you do, right? I get a bumper, I'll click at it, like something like that. And it might not be pressure from the collar. I'll bet it's more mental stress, or the dog is super, super independent and it's playing a guessing game, which then that's basically lack of obedience and really impulsive. But I do all my stuff on long leads. So if I have a long lead on and they're looking at me, I'll pull it and I'll tap the bottom, I'll flick it, tap the bottom of their chin, hey, look at me, and then I'll cast.
Eric?
Sometimes the solution is getting the dog off the handling field a little while. Go throw marks, let it become fun again. When you come back, I'm right there with Rhett. Dead back, or if it's three-handed casting, and the dog's not looking at me. Maybe I'll just hold out the bumper right in front of me, drop it, tweet that dog in. So then the dog, or wave it, hey, 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 just so that dog pays attention to me. You probably could have avoided this by doing better puppy work and start getting that focus during puppy work. But the Band-Aid or the thing to do now is to get attention gainer, have that bumper in your hand, hey, 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 and let that dog get it sometimes. Throw it off to the side and let it go get it. So it realizes if you go, hey, 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 and show them that bumper, it means look at me. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris has got the best puppy game for this deal. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you in that exact deal. If the dog's not looking at you and you're doing the three-handed cast, and the dog knows each pile, and he's educated on all three of them, and so if he's not looking at you, that means he's looking at a pile, right? So he's trying to second guess where he's fixing to go, right, left, or straight back. So my deal is tweet, and I'm gonna put a little bit of light pressure on the dog. Tweet with the collar, bump. Look at me. If he ever looks left, I'm sending him right. If he ever looks right, I'm sending him left. If he ever looks both ways, I'll send him back. And another deal, I think over time, by doing that, the dog will end up realizing that he's got to look where you're going in order to make the right decision. And so, and the other thing you can do a lot of is like this deal where when I teach my whistle sits, the first couple of days I'll make a game out of it. And I'll just get out there and hey, 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 hey. And I'll blow the whistle and I'll put the bumper above my head. And they don't know what a whistle even is. And I'll just go sit, sit, sit. Or everybody else say it 5 times. And then they sit and they're looking at you. And I put my arm out to the side and I hum that bumper that way. Now, I'm not saying I'm teaching a dog to cast. I'm not saying I'm teaching him to sit on the whistle at 200 yards, but I am introducing all of it at one time. The next time he comes back in, hey, 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 he gets wound up. He runs out 20 yards. Tweet. I'll throw the bumper up. Boom. He hurries up and sits. Because he's figured out the faster I sit my butt on the ground, the faster he throws the bumper. I put my arm out to the right this time, and I throw the bumper out to the right. Well, it doesn't take many of those right there. That dog already starts to pick up on all that to the point that when they won't even leave your side, they'll go like this here 5-6 feet out and just sit down real quick. Well, you've exhausted that little game. But it does cause really good eye contact. And like Eric said, you kind of missed out on some of the puppy stuff. That's a real quick little game that'll get that dog giving you eye contact. Because let's face it, he's got to look at you to figure out which way you're throwing the bumper, left, right, or straight back. And the dog is actually starting to learn some halfway cast. It hurt, right? I mean, it's kind of like that stuff Eric does as a young puppy. All that stuff cannot hurt as it.
Yeah, and I like how, Chris, how you say, if the dog looks right, you cast left. That's now you're teaching that dog to be held accountable. It's up to him to look at you. So, anyway, good stuff,
right,
guys. Great stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys again for joining us. This has been awesome.
Yeah, great stuff. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. Eric Teson, Chris Akin, Rhett Riddle, Elliot, thank you, guys. Love you all.
It's been a pleasure.
We will see everybody Monday.
See you, buddy.
Can't wait.
Thanks, guys. See everybody in your line. Take that aim.
Yeah.
Gotta strike this chord with the humble hearts, bearing heavy chains and blue collar scars.